Coming up now, it's a special edition of Art Rocks. One of the most highly regarded public artists in the world makes his mark in Louisiana. All the way from Buenos Aires, Argentina, he's here to talk big art and big ideas. Up next on Art Rocks.
Art Rocks is made possible by the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting and by viewers like you.
Hello, and thank you for joining us for a special edition of Art Rocks, focusing on the works of internationally renowned muralist, the Argentinian painter Francisco Diaz, who goes by the name Pastel. In October 2019, Pastel spent 3 weeks in Louisiana creating permanent public murals in Baton Rouge and beyond. The second took shape in the tiny town of St. Joseph in Tensole Parish. It was the creative forces behind Ann Connelly Fine Art who put the wheels in motion required to bring Pastel to Baton Rouge. Here's Ann Connelly Gallery's Assistant Director, Chelsea Norris, to tell us a thing or two about how Pastel makes work both urgent and inspiring, both here and all around the world.
Francisco Pastel painted at the corner of Lobdell and Jefferson, and this was his first piece of public art for the city of Baton Rouge. Prior to that, he had created works on canvas, either here in the gallery or in his Argentinian studio in Buenos Aires, and he was sending them to us for us to sell as artwork, as fine artwork. So he has that kind of dual component where he's able to create works on canvas that we present as fine art, usually for the home or a corporate space, but then he's also doing murals. So this trip is more focused on the mural component, where he'll be creating 2 different murals, one on Martin Wine Cellar and one on the building shared by Kiki and Gourmet Girls. We knew we wanted Francisco to come back to Baton Rouge, but really where the tough part becomes is finding those community leaders, businesses, and other people, philanthropists, to support having this artist here. So we're so lucky that we've had so many great leaders step up. Martin Wine Cellar was one of the first people to say yes once we showed them Pastel's work, the caliber, and the kind of global reach that he has. So they wanted to become this kind of icon for Baton Rouge. And I think that comes with an innate understanding of the importance of the arts and creating a space that's inclusive and creates an environment for people that's just beyond a commercial aspect. There's that X factor. And then with the Kiki and Gourmet Girls, the owner of that building, Winifred and Kevin Riley, were big partners in bringing Pastel here, and their contribution really allowed us to have him here for a month and do some really incredible work. Public art in general, just to start kind of from a broad perspective, has always been a way that you can engage with a community. And that can be a community of all walks of life. People really respond to having thoughtful environments and artwork in spaces, and I think in urban environments it becomes even more important. So having someone like Francisco here for a month to paint several pieces for our community really elevates our city on a kind of global reach. Baton Rouge can become much bigger than what it really is. You look at a lot of bigger cities in the United States, and this is what they're putting a focus on. There's a partnership with commercial galleries, leaders in the community, and even support from the government to make these happen, because it's really clear that it makes a big impact in the overall city and the idea of placemaking. We've been following Pastel for a long time. We are guilty of Instagram stalking him, maybe just a little bit. So we made our first impression with him several years ago after being introduced to his work through other artists that we knew that were working at the same high level. And it's those kind of internal associations, that handshake to handshake relationship, that's how we get in touch with these artists. With Francisco's background in architecture, I think he also has an incredibly astute ability with color. I think that's a unique thing about his work. Also the way that he uses his body to create work, whether that be on a 5-story building or on a 1-story small piece, or even on just a 16 by 20 piece of artwork. He has this idea of scale and proportion kind of built into the way that he works. So there's no grid system, there's no projection. It's this very intuitive, organic process. And then the completed work really attracted us because it was all about this kind of foreign, organic flora and fauna that became part of an urban environment that brought hope and kind of a positive distraction to the people in those areas. Dr. Kevin Harris, who started the Museum of Public Art in downtown Baton Rouge, really was the trailblazer for making Baton Rouge a recognizable location for these public artists that travel the world. These are artists that I've seen in New York when I go to the Armory show, in Wynwood, in Miami when we go to Basel, and then for them to be here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana is really incredible. That gave us the foot in the door to be able to contact people like Francisco Pastel and reach out to him and work with him on a professional level, and then eventually bring him to Baton Rouge to paint work for the city. For someone like Pastel and like these mural artists that travel all over the world, having that social media presence is really important, but also just the authenticity of what they're doing. Authenticity, it's something that you can see and feel, and these artists that are working at this high level, they have that authentic mark. So that's what draws us to people like Pastel, is not only his professionalism as an artist coming from an architecture background, but also the idea that what he's doing is this authentic approach, and it's a mark that we haven't seen from any other mural artist. What makes cities relevant and desirable when we look around the country? People are moving to places where there is a creative environment, where there's a sense of purpose and there's a sense of dedication to the spaces that they inhabit, especially in urban environments. And that's a trend we've been seeing forever as we go out. But when we came back to Louisiana after taking our trips abroad, we felt like that was missing, and we're such a rich culture, so we've made it kind of a personal component of the gallery, kind of our personal philanthropy for the city, to bring in these artists and to make a really big impact. What would be great is if in kind of the perfect future, that impact was not only led by just us and our great partners here in the arts, but also our leaders in the legislature and on a statewide kind of aspect, for them to look and see the importance of the arts and see the investment in a cultural dollar.
We took the opportunity to sit down and talk in depth with Pastel about his work, his travels, and his concerns for the plight of the natural world.
Pastel is a painter from Argentina, born and raised. He's more focused on working on public space, trying to make some big progress or small progress on public landscape. I'm from a big town like Buenos Aires, so I'm really into what the public space means to the inhabitants, the local people. I study architecture at the university. I finished the career, but then I realized that I was not doing what I was feeling, and I became more like a service person than an author of my own stuff. With the knowledge I got from architecture, plus the experience of painting graffitis that I had before, like everything get mixed and made like a big twist, put them together and start to work on murals and big scale paintings. For example, Buenos Aires is a very big city. It's already overbuilt. As an architect, get the decision to make more and more buildings. I don't think it's fair enough for the people and for the landscape. So I'm more into like the idea of doing small actions, what I call like urban acupuncture. It doesn't matter what type, like painting a mural, changing some bus stops, some lightings, whatever. And that's the way to improve those places that are already made, but maybe they don't have like a complete decision for people. I think that can be like a kickstart, and then can turn to create some sense of belonging with the people that lives there. It's not trying to change the identity, because that can sound like gentrification, and I'm totally against that. My idea is to work with local identity and to glorify the little things that are already happening in that place. So from there, all the nature and all the flowers and plants I use are like sometimes just the plants that grows on the cracks between the facades and the sidewalks. It's not like something like really into the big nature and forest. It's more like metropolitan nature. Because at some point, like little herbs that are growing all over are part of the landscape, and I think they are also kind of actors of that place. And there's nothing more unique than the little herb that nobody decided to put on a crack, and it's beautiful and it's natural and real. And so painting them is like a way to glorify them on a big scale. The process I got is quite similar of the one I used to use for architecture. It's like trying to get all the history of the place and the environment. For example, most of the murals I do are out of Argentina, so I need to be into those places, and I really need to know about the history, the society, how it works, what big events happen, how's the population working, how's the economy, everything. Then all that information gets translated on an abstract way to shapes and colors, but I really need to get onto those things to get closer, and also to be as much responsible as I can. Figuring out like the sizes and the proportions are something that's coming from practice and practice and practice and practice. And there's no clue more than practice and trying, and using big sticks like large pole extensors and a brush with tape on the top, and just having fun playing. That painting is going to be on an indoor place, so I try to reflect like an indoor situation with some indoor wall with textures. The latest work is like a garden fence with a little landscape that is behind, and then to put some like indoor plants, like rubber trees or sansevieiras, to create like a indoor feeling about nature. Like the difference is like when plants or flowers are on pots are totally different, meaning that we are raised on the ground. At first I have to paint the landscape behind. The latest work, and then it's like taping and take the right angles to make it work, and all those angles and the way to create those letters. Scale is the biggest issue, because sometimes you are just on a lift, on a very small basket, and you need to figure out how to make like 6-story levels mural, but it's fun. It's kind of a sport more than art. Once you start to get or take quicker decisions, you're getting more complicated on another ones. So it's always, sometimes it's more mental or conceptual, and some other times it's more about mixing and physical efforts. It's just like regular acrylic paint, like house paints. On the 2001 in Argentina, there was a very big economical crisis. So they stopped importing good paint qualities and spray cans, and we start to paint with whatever we can find, with earth, chalk, charcoal, tar, whatever, and making big murals with those things. And I think those years, 2001, 2, and 3, let's say, they really helped me to realize now a bit more how to develop the way to work with colors and materials. I always like get a couple of the primary colors and then mix them all by myself. But yes, just straight paint. Because of I start painting on public space, the thing is, during the whole days that you're painting, it's your wall, you know? It's like, that's my place, you cannot touch it. Get away from my paints and my wall and my lift and everything. But once it's done, it doesn't belong to you anymore. It belongs to the people. So if someone is coming and paint a graffiti over, it's fine. If some people is coming and doing some pee over the wall, it's fine. And if the sun destroy the color, it's fine. It doesn't belong to you anymore. I think as a painter, my main job is to watch and look at everything and study everything. Then as a secondary layer, it's painting, but I really need to look at things. And it can be like a reflection to start to look more onto like nature. Doesn't matter where it is, like a countryside or on the city. It's like something that we really need to take care of. I think it's totally insane what they are doing, and just burning everything to farming or putting soy or whatever. It's craziness. The destruction of nature and rainforest and everything, because now it's right, everything is getting destroyed. It's something that is always in my mind, but at the same time, my work is on a public space, so I need to be responsible and try to make a dialogue and create some harmony between what I'm doing and the people that lives there, because I never forget there is people living around that place. So I think there is not necessary to make some aggressive images about nature or whatever to create some reflections. I think could be more effective, but I try to work on at least for myself, on a deeper level that is more sensitive, not just on a straight image of a big problem like climate change or the destruction of nature. When I started painting flowers and nature, I was trying to present or get into the human crisis and how the human interact with the nature. So at first I started to make some elements mixed with local people from Argentina, like countryside elements, and mixing them with nature. But mostly I think both elements, like human elements or elements created by humans and nature, are part of a way to symbolize those. It's already behind those layers. The information that I'm trying to put on paintings is getting more and more simplified. All those things I'm starting to leave them away at some point, because I don't know, it's part of the evolution of as a painter. I started painting when I was old, like when I was 16 or 15, painting graffitis, but just for fun. I never used to paint when I was a kid, and I don't know how it comes to my life. Graffiti scene in Argentina, it's a big thing. So yeah, when I was younger, I used to go out every night and bombing and tagging all over the city. Just, I don't know, those times, the 2000s, is like a crisis time. So everything was like crazy and full of anger, and was like a time to show that we are not happy. I think art in all kind of ways is the strongest political voice to preserve events that are missing from the history. I think it's the most political one, but at the same time it's not taking any side. It's just clean, supposed to be out of any parties or wings. For Argentina, it's huge and amazing and so diverse. We have one of the biggest waterfalls, big mountains, all the Andes mountains. We have deserts, salt deserts, glaciers, seashores. It's so diverse and so big. It's nice to try to get all over because it's part of our land, and I'm really into getting that local history and local places to absorb these landscapes and information. Yeah, but I'm not painting those things. I think all those times of visiting really helps after to the paintings, because painting is a way you can focus more clearly and put all your energy on a small canvas or a small wall. I try to mix between super big scale walls and small paintings, and it's totally a different experience, because when you're painting outside, the painting is not just the wall, it's the wall and the whole environment and the image you can create using the elements around. And when you're on your studio, it's just you and yourself and your soul without environment. It's just a delimited space, so it's a totally different experience. One is more internal, and the other one you're totally exposed. To get up high, I mostly use like big lifts, boom lifts or scissor lifts, or sometimes scaffolds, depends of the country and the possibility of the place. If there is a tree or something, you need to put a scaffold. You cannot work with that. The one I did in Manila was like 10-story levels by half a block, and it took me like 8 days. Really hot, and the wall was black, so it was really, really hot. But last year I did one in Valencia that was 450 feet long by 50 feet tall, and it took me a whole month because it was huge and very hot also. Sometimes I have 10 days and it's 4 days raining, and I have 6 days just to paint, and I have to paint with both hands and try to make everything good. Once I was painting in Norway. It was actually end of winter, so it was like already springtime. It was warm enough. I was painting a public school, very large wall, and one morning I get there, the painting was completely freezed, so I couldn't put the brush onto the bucket. It was like, but that was crazy. Yeah, and then some other times, I don't know, like painting in Miami during summer, and once you pass the paint, it's already dried because it's like a volcano. The best thing about painting on the streets or outside is like all the experience you have and the stories you experience there. Every place where I paint, the relationship with the people is totally different, because sometimes are more into and close, and sometimes they just make opinions. I don't like it, oh, this is shit, or whatever. And some other times they just don't pay attention. Like big cities, it's more usual that they don't even care. And when I'm painting in small towns, people really get into and get really involved on everything and try to make you feel better, or at least as a part of the community, because they are looking that you're doing something for them. So sometimes they bring you lasagna or pasta or coffee or vodka bottles, whatever, and it's like, drink. No, I'm working. I love Louisiana food. I really love that so much. Oyster, shrimps, all the seasonings, like, perfect. Yeah, but our food Argentinian food is more related to Spanish and Italian food, because we are mostly coming from Italian and Spanish immigrants. So we have those cuisine roots, but with a twist of South America also. I don't know if I'm a well-renowned artist. I'm not really into those things. Like, to be honest, I totally focus on painting, and I don't mind about my person. Sometimes that's a problem because I need a little bit of my ego to get stronger, but it's how I am, and it's fine. So yes, maybe the thing that people can recognize are my paintings and not my person, and that's what I'm really into. For me, it's like a game. They invite me, and I only think about trying to enjoy the time and make paintings, and what I live for people are paintings. I'm not focused on my person. Or I never think about why they're inviting me to do some projects more than because I paint plants and local stuff.
TV's great and all, but not even the best camera work can convey the experience of connecting with art and the artists who make it in person. So here are a handful of standout exhibits coming soon to museums and galleries near you. For more about these and many more events in the arts, subscribe to Arts Monthly, the new free e-newsletter from the editors at LPB and Country Roads magazine. And that wraps things up for this special edition of Art Rocks. But remember, you can always see or share episodes of the show at lpb.org/artrocks. And if you can't get enough cultural sustenance, Country Roads magazine makes a great resource for finding out what's going on in the arts all across the state. Until next week, I've been James Fox Smith, and thanks to you for watching.